You've tuned in to Chip Grooves Radio with Mike and Jesse.
Well, I dipped my toes back into Baldur's Gate 3. I had kind of gotten through basically all of Act 3. I was just kind of finishing up a couple of little like side quests before I finish it up and then move on to Act 4 and eventually, finish the game. I don't really know why I took such a long break from it. I think that I just got distracted by some other games, as is so often the case.
It happens.
I'm surprised that anything was able to kind of tear my attention away from BG3 though, because that game really is kind of a masterpiece. It's pretty stupendous. I guess my only beef with it is that I think that there's probably like too many side quests and stuff to do, which I'm sure some people would say is absolute heresy because you cut that stuff and then it'll just reduce the number of hours that you can spend in the game. But I mean, I believe that there are 5 chapters. I haven't read ahead, so I don't have any spoilers, but I'm pretty sure I've heard people say that there's 5, and I'm not done with 3, and I've been level capped for like a little while now. Like, probably.
Okay, so it's a little uneven in terms of side quests and levels. Okay.
Yeah, the level spread is kind of a little. It goes up too fast, and then you get stuck at level 12, and I mean you get new gear and stuff, but that's pretty much it. The nice thing is that you can easily respec the characters, and if you get bored, you can just change the character's class to something else. It's not like they're locked in like they were in previous versions of the game.
Gotcha. Now, do they match levels as you increase, or do you just crush the game after a certain point?
Oh, you mean like enemies matching your level?
Like do they level with you?
Yeah, it seems so. I mean, some of the more recent side quests that I've done, even though I'm level capped, have been not like hard, but are, challenging at the very least.
Challenging, yeah.
One of the particular ones I did, for anybody who's played Baldur's Gate 3, the whole House of Hope was unbelievable. Like, unbelievable. It's one of the most fun things that I've done in a game in a while. Especially the last fight, depending on what you choose as your course going through it. Oh boy, it was something special. Really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, I have been wanting to play that game ever since John was talking about it when it came out, and I've been intimidated by it because I know it's going to suck me in, and I'm not going to get anything done. And then my buddy Joe, who I talk about every once in a while, he started picking it up out of nowhere a couple weeks ago, and I was like, son of a bitch. I logged into Xbox, and I saw he was playing that, and I'm like, great. Now I have to make the move to play it, because I've actually got people to play it with. So
yeah, I mean, I haven't even touched co-op, but I'm told that it's tons and tons of fun. It just, like, I mean, you can almost treat it like a D&D campaign, like with you can sink hours and hours and hours into it with somebody. I know some people that have like 2 or 3 different groups that they play with, and they're all at different parts in the campaign, and then pretty wild. And then I also interesting little piece of video game news, I guess you could call it.
Sure.
I read where I'm going to have to pull up the article, but I read that some folks actually managed to unlock the world builder code or something like that, so that you can do completely custom content with it, and make fan mods and stuff like that. And I guess that was one of the things that I have been told after reading articles and talking to some folks that Hasbro was very much against, was having like a creation toolkit like you'd have in like Skyrim, because they didn't want people being able to use Baldur's Gate 3 to make D&D campaigns in, and then people would do that instead of using like D&D Beyond or whatever the subscription model version of online D&D is. And Larian, when folks like cracked into the character creation and world creation stuff, we're basically like, guess it was going to happen eventually, and don't seem to be doing anything to shut it down, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, there's always a capitalist aspect to that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's like, hey, we want to make it as cool as we can, but not too cool, because then they won't buy our other stuff. Yeah, that's a shame. But I hope and pray that someone figures it out, and people make it sounds. I mean, it sounds awesome the way you're describing it. It sounds like, you could do a really killer interactive Dungeons and Dragons game, which I think that's a really excellent next step in tabletop games. I think that would be pretty cool. Yeah, just to watch what's happening in your story kind of come to life on the screen. Yeah. So I've actually been playing Spiritfarer.
Oh, cool.
Listeners would recognize it as one of John's picks back in the day, and he raved about it, and I have been diving in since it's on Game Pass, and yeah, it's pretty fun. Nice chill game, which is something I need every once in a while. Yeah. Something to bring down the anxiety, bring down the stress. But I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's a little bit more involved than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be fairly straightforward, but there's a lot of open world, kind of do what you want and progress how you're comfortable. So a lot of stuff to do. Nice relaxing game, but that's what I've been focusing on recently. It's actually got a touching story so far. It's very well, I mean, you are essentially ferrying spirits to the afterlife, but they have unfinished business and things like that to do. So you're helping them on this boat, and they're like visitors on your ship, and you do random quests for them to help them move to the other side. So it's a neat concept. I like it.
Yeah, it's funny, when we hopped on Discord to start recording, I noticed there's a little promoted like pop-up ad down like near where the voice controls are that just says Final Fantasy 16 quest available, and you mouse over it and it pops up and it says if you play the Final Fantasy 16 demo for 15 minutes with your Discord client open, you unlock a little Torgal puppy avatar decoration for 2 months. Which, nice. I guess that's cool. But I mean, the cooler news is that Final Fantasy 16 is officially out on PC, which is very exciting, because I have a bunch of friends who, as we talked about in some of the other episodes that we've done and the pre-show talk, about console exclusives and whatnot, have not been able to play. And you know what? I was just talking to another friend about this game yesterday, and I said that I really, really feel like it might be like top 3 is for Final Fantasy games that I've ever played. The game is an absolute masterpiece. Like, it's in every way.
It is fantastic.
God.
It is fantastic. God. And it is single-handedly the reason I own a PS5. I sensed that it was going to take forever for it to port to Xbox, and it turns out I was right. I know that they signed at least a 1-year contract with Sony, and it just came out this week on PCs. That's great. It's slowly making its way around, but I can't wait for that stuff. So I bought a PlayStation 5, and I bought that on day one. So I was thoroughly impressed with that game. It is the breath of fresh air that series needed. It's amazing how fun it was and engaging it was without it being like a party system. Right. Like, it's literally just you. You are the one character. So, I guess it's Final Fantasy by title only, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
but
like some people have said this isn't a Final Fantasy game. And I'm like, well, what is a Final Fantasy game? Because there's a bunch of different there's a bunch of different takes on kind of the basic story threads that sort of tie everything together, a bunch of different gameplay types. Like, are you going to say that like Final Fantasy 12 wasn't a Final Fantasy game because you only ever control one character, and it has like the gambit system, so you can basically do rudimentary programming to tell your other characters in your party what actions to do at what time. Like, does that mean that's not a Final Fantasy game?
I think,
or like,
yeah, I think we threw the idea of what a Final Fantasy game out the window in the late 90s and early 2000s. Like, they have mutated this thing in so many different ways, countless times, and they've kept the same title, Final Fantasy, including Tactics, which is one of my favorite Final Fantasies.
Oof, man.
Not a classic Final Fantasy, but it's still Final Fantasy. So you've got that. You've got Dirge of Cerberus. You've got so many other things that question or call into question what Final Fantasy is. So anyone complaining about 16's direction can just shove it, because it's a fantastic game and you're missing out, honestly. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't need to go on a whole tirade about that. But anyway, I agree with you. I agree.
Yes.
But yeah, I kind of, what else have I been up to? So I've actually been kind of, it seems like on Saturday or Sunday mornings when I wake up, I'm like, the whole house is quiet. The kids are sleeping in a little bit. I'm still getting up at 5:30, whatever. The dogs, I'll just crack the windows. I got like the cool autumn breeze coming in. The dogs are really chill because it's still kind of dark out. And I seem to have just kind of made like a little bit of a Saturday morning tradition for myself of doing one or two of the, roguelike style war games on Homeworld 3. I don't know. I've just been having a lot of fun with it. Just doing them solo, like not, the times that I've been able to party up with a friend of mine who also plays, it is really a blast. Like, it's a lot of fun. Much more difficult than doing it single player. But yeah, I've just been kind of having fun chipping away at it. It's a little repetitive, but that's kind of the nature of the beast. I wish that there were maybe a bit more variety, a few more maps, a few more objective types. Because right now it seems like there's a fairly small number of them that it kind of bounces between, and then it's always the same objectives on the same map. So when you go to a map, like when you hyperspace to the next system, in the roguelike gameplay type, as soon as you see where you exit hyperspace, you already know what the objectives are going to be for the most part. So I'd like to see it mixed up a little more, but honestly, I'm still having a lot of fun with it, and the soundtrack's pretty dope, so I get to enjoy that too.
Yeah. I'm still waiting on that release. I gotta see what Homeworld 3's music sounds like. I haven't actually looked it up, but that game, I know you had said, you were kind of on the fence with how you feel about it, but has it grown on you at all?
Yeah.
Or
I mean, does
it fit pretty well in the universe of the first two games?
I mean, I think it just needs. I don't feel like it's fully fleshed out. Like, I don't feel like the single player campaign is long enough. I don't feel like the beats in the single player campaign hit quite as hard emotionally as some of them in the first two. And I don't feel like it has quite as grand a scope. I think that that's the thing that I wouldn't say disappoints me, but I wish that just the scope of the game and the missions were just larger. And I don't know if that's a function of the maps not being quite as large, because I think they're probably similar in size. I don't feel like they're that much smaller than the ones in Homeworld 2, but I think I've put a lot of thought into this, and I think that part of it is that Homeworld 1 and 2 feel like a naval battle in space, in the sense that, the ships do take some time to get where they're going. if you ambush somebody, like let's say you come up from below or out of a nebula with some strike craft or corvette, and there's like some frigates or capital ships, like you're going to get several volleys of fire before the ship kind of comes about and brings its weapons to bear. Like it has that feel to it. Like watching a Star Wars space battle. Like a Star Destroyer doesn't turn on a dime. And they don't move that fast. But in Homeworld 3, the ship movement is notably quicker than it is in 1 and 2. And even some of the larger ships, I mean, they don't turn like race cars on a track, but they turn much more quickly than you'd expect them to be able to, given the size of the ships. So it doesn't have that kind of like some of that kind of slower plodding tactical feeling doesn't seem to be there.
Absolutely.
Just because your ships just react so fast that it doesn't, like an ambush doesn't really do anything,
Right. Yeah, and I can totally see how that would be, especially if it's a precedent set by the first 2 titles where, by limitation or not, this is how these units reacted. And I can totally see that being a turnoff as, typically you have to account for something like that. And they kind of took that away, it sounds like. So that's kind of bummy.
Actually, I'm kind of looking something up now because I seem to remember. Yeah. So. Well,
it's like the siege tank in StarCraft. You have to, if you want to use it for projectile mode or like rocket mode, then you have to account for the time it takes to set up.
Yeah.
It's just something like that where you have to take into account that there's setup time or there's reaction time that you will get wasted if you're not prepared for. But yeah, I can see that being kind of a turnoff because, you said it doesn't feel like a naval battle in space, which is kind of the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not taking anything away from it because I don't know. But to make space feel small, that seems
and I wouldn't even go so far as to say small. It's just that like all the ships move so fast that it is sometimes difficult to really like target stuff with your ship's different like types of cooldowns, because some of the ships have cooldown abilities like ion cannon, I don't know, overcharge, or some stuff like that. So like you can use those still, like they're very effective and they're very important for actually being able to deal with larger, frigate class and capital ships and stuff like that. But I find that they're actually more difficult to use effectively because everything moves so quickly and there's so many targets on the field that a lot of times what'll happen is like if you have like an ion frigate or something like that, it's like a big capital ship, buster, and your opponent has one too. If their cooldown goes off before yours does, it does so much damage that you're probably just going to lose your frigate before you get a chance to use yours. So it's it doesn't, not to say that you want to be able to, have a whole battle of, armada of ships pounding away at this one capital ship and you're just slowly watching its hull take down. I think that the original games kind of took that a little too far in that direction. But this game seems to take it too far kind of in the other direction. And I think I'd like to see stuff that's kind of somewhere in the middle, like reduce the movement speed, reduce the damage potential of a lot of the ships, but at the same time, reduce the hull value of some of the big ones. I mean, I could go on about this forever. This is probably not interesting to anybody but me.
No,
I've put a lot of thought into this, evidently.
It's our show. Well, no, it makes sense. And I do think, at least it sounds like another sacrifice at the altar of instant gratification. That's the unfortunate thing. I think the speed of games has greatly increased to appease the masses.
Yeah, and I think the only other beef that I have with it, but then I'm going to finally let us like move on here, is they released the road one or the year one roadmap for what they're going to be doing with all the expansions and the add-ons and the DLC aspects. Like there's not like a ton of them. There are going to be some, and you can get a season pass, of course. But there's actually no single player stuff on the roadmap. Every single thing that's on it is multiplayer and specifically for the roguelike version, which like it's not like it's pay to play. It's not like you're, there's no microtransactions in the game, and you don't really need any of the extra add-ons unless you just want to have some kind of cool different fleets. But yeah, it's just, yeah, I wish that there would be expansions to the single player story. Like maybe if they had put the initial campaign as part of the first release and then on the year one roadmap have like a second campaign, releasing towards the end of the year or something like that. But anyway.
That's exceedingly unfortunate.
Yeah, disappointing.
It feels like the death, not the death of, I'm not accusing this game of anything. I don't know anything. It just sucks that they're not putting anything into a single player campaign, which is really what the real-time strategy genre is all about. Yes, obviously the multiplayer. Everyone knows about StarCraft and StarCraft 2 and how big it is. But a narrative and a story that expands upon itself is still very important. And real-time strategies are built on that. This is, what path are you going to take now and how are you going to resolve this conflict? Stuff like that. It's like, it sucks that it's not on the roadmap.
Yeah. It just makes me wonder, like, when they were kind of formulating what their focus was going to be and they landed on this, like, multiplayer roguelike version of the game, I don't know how many fans of the series they actually consulted or if they even really were targeting it at fans of the series because it was so far removed from the last game. Like, were they just trying to put something together that they felt like was going to appeal to the folks that are accustomed to playing like live service games and that kind of thing? I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, it's a cool mode. I don't know that it's enough that it'll keep my attention a year from now. But yeah, I don't know.
How much can you really do with that? Yep. But that's to be seen.
Yep. To be seen. Any games you feel like you need to complain about? Since I just fucking soapboxed for 10, 15 minutes.
No, dude, never feel bad about talking passionately about it because that's what this is about, man.
Yep.
And listeners, what few of them there are, I'm sure appreciate your insight. I'm just looking at the Steam review right now, and that's unfortunate. It's sitting at a 5 out of 10.
Yeah. I think it's definitely
sucks,
better than a 5 out of 10, but yeah.
I never go by reviews as we talk. To pivot. I never go by reviews, and that's especially true with the Borderlands movie, which I still have not seen. So I did fail in that, but I do plan on buying it. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, and you could say I've wasted my money, I pre-ordered the Steelbook because I'm a Steelbook junkie, and I figured, what the hell? I was going to spend more on it by going to the movies.
Yeah.
So what the fuck?
True story. And I mean, I own the Warcraft movie, and
I do too.
That's not great, but I own
not
it.
Great.
So yeah.
Yeah. But so my review of that is forthcoming. But as far as complaining about games, not really complaining. I think the biggest thing for me right now, and I've talked about it a few times here and there sparingly, it's just my backlog. In fact, while I was waiting for you a couple minutes, I was on my downstairs Xbox, and I was just flipping through all the games I've played and gotten achievements in that I obviously didn't take to because there's only like 1 or 2 achievements. And I'm just like looking at it and like the inside of me is dying because I'm a perfectionist on games, and my ratio of incomplete games to complete games is very, very skewed. So I think I'm going to start chipping away at my backlog. I think it'll be an interesting little experiment because
That's a noble idea. I can't even tell you how many times I've told myself I was going to do that.
Well, let me tell you, I booted up Gears of War, the original for the 360. And I'm like, okay, so I'm looking at the achievements and they're all multiplayer based. I'm like, well, I'm never going to do this. So as just a joke, I clicked on ranked match and it actually found one. So I'm like, what this cannot be real. This has to be a placeholder person or something. Like, I don't believe that someone's actually sitting here trying to make a ranked match on Gears of War 1. But I'm okay with not having the multiplayer achievements. That stuff's fine, whatever. There's always some 8-year-old out there who's going to school me in any video game because that's all he does. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I am right now. I'm playing Spiritfarer, and I've decided to slowly chip away at my back catalog while I wait for Silent Hill 2 to come out in just a couple short weeks. And my heart is aflutter. I am looking so forward to that. Despite all the naysayers, if there's one thing I can complain about, it is people who overreact before they know anything. So there are people who've been shitting on this game ever since it was announced. So I'm just really sick of it. And that's why I don't go by reviews, because they're most of the time wrong. So
yeah,
because it's Halloween time and Silent Hill is getting a resurgence in popularity. Silent Hill 2 remake's coming out. They've got a couple other games in development, and the return to Silent Hill movie is going to be releasing sometime this year by the original director, Christoph Gans. I'm pretty excited. So the music of Akira Yamaoka has all been around me. And I actually had a question for you. I don't know if you play Silent Hill at all.
I've never played one, no.
Okay. Do you play survival horror at all?
Yeah, I mean, I've played a few survival horror games. It's been a while. I mean, I think the last one I played was Resident Evil 6, I think. Yeah, I think it was Resident Evil 6. Okay. It's been a little while. Let me check that out. I've had Alien Isolation on Steam for a long time, and I have not played it at all. And I'm probably a lesser person for it, if I had to guess.
Oh man, you are missing out. I will say, going in, so you've never played it?
Nope.
Or you've played very little?
Nope, I've played none. I've never even booted it up.
I will say, despite all my complaining about multiplayer and people not focusing on single player, that is a very single player game.
Sure.
And I would venture to say, I remember thinking by the end of it, this is a couple chapters too long.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't hurt it a lot, but it does. It's like, okay, can we finish this?
Yeah.
So it's a great game. Don't take that as any negative. It's just, you will be playing it for a while. There are plenty of chapters, and when you're done with it, you will feel done with it. So I highly encourage you to play it at some point.
Yeah, it's definitely going to happen for sure.
Beautiful game. Beautiful game.
So, speaking of new games, I have so far resisted the Siren's Call, and I'm not sure how, but have you taken a look at the new hotness that is Space Marine 2? Because, man, it is everywhere right now. Holy smokes.
I'm looking it up now.
Have you played any of like the Warhammer IP games?
I have not.
No, man. So, I don't play Warhammer 40K, the tabletop game now. I haven't played it in several years, like many years. I've played a couple of the other Games Workshop tabletop games, but again, not really that recently. But I'll tell you what, the market is absolutely flooded with garbage Games Workshop licensed games, like especially mobile games, and like most of them are absolutely terrible. But there's a few that have really, really stood out. And the original Space Marine was definitely one of them. That game is killer. And this new one,
I remember hearing about it.
I think all of my friends are playing it. And friends that I haven't really heard talk about video games openly in a long time. Like, they're all friggin' about it. And evidently the main enemies in it are Tyranids, which are the faction that I played in 40K. So that's pretty cool.
Is this the game that you said StarCraft ripped off?
Yes.
In a jokey way? By
yes.
the factions? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Tyranids they're Zerg. I mean, or Zerg are Tyranids, I should say. And then, I mean, they call them Space Marines because, well, they are Space Marines, and they have power armor, and, you know, it's a very different theme. Like, the games don't have very much in common with each other in terms of, like, the cosmetics or the setting. Like, it's very different in the Warhammer 40K universe, but, yeah.
Well, it definitely looks good.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Maybe I'll have to get it and we can play.
Oh, hell yeah. For the Emperor.
For the Emperor.
Mm-hmm. You been jamming to any new tunes lately? Any video game soundtracks or whatever that have really kind of caught your attention?
New, I'll say no. Not new, but I have been, like I was saying, I'm kind of in that horror phase right now. And I was going back through and thinking about my review of Silent Hill 2's soundtrack, and it kind of got me thinking about why I like it so much more than, say, Silent Hill 3 or 4 soundtrack, done by the same man. But I had this feeling. I'm like, well, he did incorporate vocals on a few tracks in the later games, including 3 and 4. And it got me thinking. I'm like, I don't think I take to vocals in a horror game soundtrack, or even in any game, quite as much as I do orchestral or just straight instrumental tracks. And I don't know what that is or why, but it got me thinking. I'm like, I wonder what Jesse thinks about it, because for some reason, even though the tracks with vocals on them are still very haunting, very disturbing tracks, it just takes me out of it a little bit. And I've kind of been focused on that today. While I was at work, I've been thinking about that and kind of thinking, what does this mean? And not that it's important at all, but, you know, I just something to think about while I'm at work. And
I think that vocals and music tracks for games that are kind of like that survival horror bent, or just, you know, action horror or whatever you want to call it, I think they can work. It really just depends on how well they actually mesh with the setting. So, like, I mean, this is kind of an extreme example, but you look at like the BioShock series. There's some pretty overt horror elements in all of those games. I mean, all of them. Everything from, you know, slasher film to jump scares to body horror, like the whole 9 yards. But all the music in the game is like, you know, old, you know, phonograph style records. And it's totally not in keeping with with the stuff that's going on screen. But because it synthesizes well with like the background and the lore and the vibe of the game, it takes something that in some cases like kind of cutesy, like a little girl singing "How much is that doggy in the window," and changes it into something that's really horrifying. So I think that when used appropriately and not in a way that pulls you out of the game, I think they can actually be like super effective.
And I think that, especially the tracks I'm thinking of, typically Cradle of Forest and Room of Angel, those are just 2 tracks from Silent Hill 4 that I believe utilize vocals. And they are haunting tracks, and they do fit. I'm just, when it comes to horror, or especially psychological horror, I think what makes Silent Hill 2's soundtrack so balls to the wall to me is just, it feels like it's in your head. And I don't know. And that's obviously a testament to Akira Yamaoka and the design team of the games themselves. And when I hear someone singing in the background or in the foreground, it doesn't carry the same mental weight. Yeah. And that's not to say they're bad songs, because they're not. I actually really like them, but they just don't, I think they just notch it down a little bit for me, because I like to just listen to the soundscape of the game, I guess. And I guess I could probably just omit those tracks when I'm listening to them, but, you know, I like to keep things together.
Yeah, I fired up.
I don't know. It's just something I was thinking about
so
today.
I wanted to listen, because obviously I've never played this game series. So I just looked up the Silent Hill soundtrack and I put on Cradle of Forest. And yeah, this doesn't sound anything like a song that I would expect to hear in a game like Silent Hill, like at all. Like the guy, the vocalist's voice is very, I don't know, seems out of place. And the instrumentals deep, are kind of almost poppy. Like it's, I don't know.
Yeah, they turn them into more traditional songs. You know, there's much more of a verse chorus thing when they have vocals and lyrics and things like that. But, Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, she does a lot of the vocals on the first four, the last two of the first four Silent Hills. And she's got a beautiful voice and she does a great job. There's just something about it. It's just a personal preference. But yeah, I was just taken by that question because it just kind of popped in my head today. I'm like, well, when I'm thinking about these songs, I don't get the same feeling I do when I think about the rest of the album. So it's just interesting for me to think about.
Really don't deserve it, but now there's nothing you can do. So sleep in your only memory of me, my dearest mother. Here's a lullaby to close your eyes goodbye. It was always you that I despised. I don't feel enough for you to cry.
I've actually been listening to, again, not really new stuff, and it's not actually video game related at all, but I've been on a real kind of roll with listening to soundtracks from the Studio Ghibli animated movies. Have you watched any of those?
I have not.
Oh yeah, the
Good stuff.
The composer is Joe Hisaishi, and he's stupendous. And there's a lot of variety between the kind of musical styles across several of the games. Like some of them are drastically different than others. I mean, kind of one of the probably most well-known Studio Ghibli movies in the States is Princess Mononoke. It's been around for a long time.
Okay. Yeah.
Gorgeous soundtrack. Very traditional kind of Japanese, like feudal Japan era inspired soundtrack. But then Studio Ghibli has also done a couple of other movies that are actual, like, adaptations of like folklore from other parts of the world. So they actually did one a couple of years ago. It's a somewhat more recent one in terms of like the whole Studio Ghibli catalog, but it's called The Secret Life of Arrietty. And it's, if you've ever read or seen The Borrowers, it's like, I think it's an Irish folklore, like tale, and it's about, little tiny people that live around the world and usually in houses, and they go to borrow things from the humans that live in those houses, like sugar cubes and like, thumbtacks and stuff like that. And the music is absolutely like jaw-droppingly beautiful. The vocals, especially the English vocals, which I think are the ones that people actually listen to in most parts of the world. Japanese ones are great too, but the vocalist is like almost ethereal sounding at parts. It's very, very moving soundtrack. So I've been listening to that because me and my kids have been on a little bit of a bend of watching some of those movies, maybe one on a weekend, or, start one after homework is done at the end of the school day. Well, we kind of wait for dinner to be ready.
That's awesome.
If you haven't watched any of the Studio Ghibli movies and you are open to watching pretty, in some cases, not necessarily adult, but very mature stories told in animate format. It's not like you're watching DBZ or, Gundam or something like that. It's a very different kind of thing. It's really just a movie that uses animation as its vehicle, not a traditional anime like you would expect. Absolutely worth a watch. And I could certainly recommend a few specific ones to start with, but they are real works of art. Like, I don't know how else to put it. And the soundtracks match the quality level of the movies.
That's awesome.
Sure.
They sound really good. And that's something I think is a trademark of Japanese anime in general. For me, it's just, I've always been taken by the production value of some of these shows, especially Akira. I know that it's a movie.
Phenomenal.
But holy shit. When that came out, it's like, I had to look at the date again because I was like, this is beautiful. And there's something about that art style that just carries through in almost every IP I can think of. And I'm actually thinking about buying Ninja Scroll because I believe there's a steelbook coming out of that. And it's looking at me, staring at me on Amazon.
Yep.
Do I want to do it? But yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful medium. And I probably will look into what you're talking about. It seems very up my alley, especially if it's an adult story. Something that's engaging for a 40-year-old.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, I mean, not, even some of the ones that are more kid oriented, once you kind of get a feel for the pacing and some of the story beats, you really come to appreciate those as well. There's really only one that I don't really watch that much, and it's because it's kind of cool. The Hayao Miyazaki, the guy that runs the Ghibli animation Studio Ghibli. They've got all these movies that they've worked on over the years. And one of the things that he said was, I feel like I've never really made a truly kids movie. They have all this, some of the classics Kiki's Delivery Service and a few others that really they play a little bit better for kids that are a little older, 7, 8, 9, that kind of thing. And he actually kind of made a mission of making a movie specifically targeted at 4 and 5-year-olds, which is really, really hard to do. And he pulled it off. It's an old movie called Ponyo and the Cliffs by the Sea. It's really pretty beautiful. It's not one that I go back to that often because it's targeted at 4 and 5-year-olds. So it's not a real gripping story. It's more about visuals and kind of the fantastical nature of them. But I'll put it on in the background because the music is great and it's great stuff. Yeah. Very engaging.
It's Spirited Away as well.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. That was the first.
I see these movies
got
all over
a
the place.
major US release. I think it actually won an Academy Award.
I would not doubt it.
Yeah.
The Boy and the Heron.
Boy and the Heron is the most recent one. Yeah. That just came out on streaming. I'm probably going to watch that this weekend, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very cool.
If you're going to start with anything, start with Princess Mononoke. That is the gateway drug for basically anybody, especially if you're the type that likes stuff like Ninja Scroll. Imagine Ninja Scroll, but actually having a story and characters that you can engage with. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's always a plus. Something you can really sink your teeth into.
Yeah.
Not just pretty images.
Collect statues. You're gonna have to redefine what you're asking.
I don't even know how to explain it now. Okay, so I've kind of had a progression throughout the years where I would collect really nice action figures as a young lad.
Sure.
Keep them in their boxes, whatever, as many young men do. But I would only do certain ones. It would be a lot of the early ones were McFarlane toys,
which
were really highly detailed.
Those were the fucking rage. All the rage.
Kind of upgraded to NECA, which were very good. And then I stepped up to Gecko, which were statues. They weren't action figures by any means. They were statues. And I think it was about 10 or 11 years ago I got my hands on some Silent Hill statues, and they were my prize collection. And then I kind of upgraded again to like real high quality stuff. And so now I've gotten rid of all my action figures and my PVC stuff, and I've focused solely on some movie and video game statues that are unfortunately very expensive, and my wife and I go back and forth on whether we need them or not.
Well, need is a relative term.
Yeah, it's all. She's like, "What do you get out of it?" I'm like,
"I get a thing that's pretty."
Every time I look at it, I'm like, "Yeah, fuck yeah."
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you the number of times that I've looked at some of the Square Enix Play Arts Kai series of oh my god, dude, like they're crazy. And some of them are like outrageously expensive for no discernible reason. Like I mean, obviously they're super detailed, and some of them are relatively large, especially for like some of like the summons and stuff like that. But like one of them is, you know, this side enemy character that you bump into like 2 or 3 times in the Final Fantasy VII remake. That's like a member of Soldier and has a motorcycle. His name's like Roke or something like that. So they have a Play Arts Kai version of him and his motorcycle, and you literally meet the dude like 2 times in the whole game, and it is $470. Like,
oh boy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the stuff I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know, I try to allocate certain dollars to fun stuff. You know, I don't try to blow it all on stuff I don't need. And I do a pretty good job. But it's, I don't know, there's this one, Final Fantasy VI, and I just put it in the chat for you to browse. It is probably one of the coolest semi-affordable statues I've seen for Final Fantasy VI.
I'm excited to pull this link up and see what, quote, semi-affordable means.
It's not.
This is not semi-affordable, Michael.
Yes, it is.
Oh, God.
All right. Well, okay. Agree to disagree.
It's beautiful. I'll give it that. Oh, my gosh.
So
it's sold
I
out
have
anyway,
this on
so I guess you
pre-order.
can't blow the money on it. Oh, you already have it.
No, I already have
okay.
it. So it has not yet come out, but I was so disheartened and upset that the actual Square Enix licensed product, I don't know if you heard about this or not, but it is Terra on the Magitech armor.
Yep.
It's the Master Series. It was $14,000, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's beyond outrageous.
I had that thing bookmarked for like 6 months. I'm like, I cannot wait for this to go on sale. And then they announced the price. I was like, what the fuck? You want me to buy a car and park it in my fucking room? Yeah. It's like, come on. So
does the Magitech armor actually work?
It shoots lasers a lot and makes beeping noises. No, it doesn't do anything. It just sits there and looks amazing.
Yeah, I mean, this figure you linked me is pretty outstanding.
So this is like,
no doubt,
the compromise, right? And I'm happy with it. I hope to get it soon. But yeah, that's just one of the things I focus on my free time is investigating new statues and seeing what I can get rid of and what I can add. I'm obsessed with Jurassic Park. I don't know if I've ever told you that, but
yes.
Anyone who knows me, I am favorite movie, has been since I was 8. And I've got a life-size raptor bust. It's nice. Molded from the actual thing they used in the movies.
Wow.
It's actually pretty awesome.
Damn, son.
But I just wanted to know if I was alone in collecting like video game and movie stuff, because I know there are obviously people out there, but I don't know them. So,
wow.
But you say you do at least a little bit.
Mostly, it's mostly like miniatures for different like tabletop war games, like Malifaux, Warhammer 40K, you know, that kind of thing. My wife likes to assemble Gunpla models, which, I mean, like you get to do a thing and then you also get to keep the thing. So, I mean, that's cool. We have them in a little display case upstairs. But in terms of, like, you know, statues, movie props, that kind of thing, I've never really quite gotten into that. I do have some friends that are we'll go so far as to say hugely invested in that sort of thing. I totally myself have not, though.
I mean, I get that. I mean, you are definitely a more tabletop person than I am, and so that those miniatures and those different types of smaller scale things are really important to you, and that's cool too, because I think there's so many designs now and so many intricate miniatures that I've just seen on the periphery of this, and I'm like, damn, people spend a lot of time on this stuff, and it's really cool. The door has been kind of blown off its hinges with 3D printing, and I know,
yeah, for sure,
those aren't always the highest quality, but some people can do a really good job with those things, and I think they can just do so much with computers now. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I've kind of dabbled a little bit in 3D printing, but the one I have is not like a super high resolution fancy pants one. So,
I mean, I feel like I would get sucked into that and not get anything done in terms of both life and 3D printing. Like, I just wouldn't be able to comprehend what I'm supposed to be doing and get this printed.
Yeah, it's not as complicated as it was years ago. It's most of the ones you can get these days are pretty kind of fire and forget, but yeah.
Oh, I gotcha.
Wow, some of the Final Fantasy 16 statues on this site are pretty freaking cool.
I'm so happy that the Final Fantasy 6 is chased. This is a very, very much a website that
I just kind of looked at the Final Fantasy section, and I'm looking at the Final Fantasy 16 ones because they are phenomenal, beautiful, high detailed, but yeah, you got to kind of have to sift through some other
you got to sift through the
ones, we'll put it that way.
The pervy section.
Yeah, there's some outrageous Tifas in here, that's for sure.
Yeah.
As fanboys are wont to do.
Yeah. The only thing that led me to this site was I saw a picture of the statue I'm getting, and I don't even know where I saw it. I think it was on the statue forum website that I talked to people on, and it linked me here. And then I was like, oh, I wonder what else they have.
And then you found out.
Okay. And then I found out, and I'm like, I'm never going to this site at work. That's for sure.
No, safe search filters could cause problems.
Yep. Not a chance. So, unfortunately, there are those horny teenage boys, and unfortunately, adults sometimes that give us a bad name.
Mm-hmm.
I would never put this in my house. I'm sorry.
No, definitely not.
Well, we'll let the listeners' imagination just kind of go with that, but have you seen any good movies lately? We'll wrap it up here in a few minutes, but
No, I haven't really watched any new movies lately. I mean, my wife and I have kind of we just started watching through Arrested Development again, which is always a good choice. That show's fantastic. But yeah, nothing really new. The newest movie I'll have seen. Oh, and actually, that's not true. I watched Mad Max Furiosa a couple of weeks ago, which was...
How was that?
It was very good.
I did not...
It was very good.
Was it?
It was very good. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely recommended.
It just looked like one big green screen in the theater when I fucking saw the trailer for it. I was like, this...
No.
I'm not saying it's bad.
No more so than Fury Road. And Fury Road was, I mean, there was some green screen, but there's so much practical effects that you'll never see the like of them anywhere else. So really outstanding. Nice. Like building all of the freaking vehicles. Oh my God. It's amazing. All the cars are real. They're all real. They're all real.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I saw Alien Romulus.
I heard that was pretty good.
Yeah, that is the general consensus, is that it's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As a super fan, I enjoyed it for what it was. Didn't really go in with any expectation.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, one, I'm not a fan of the teenage aspect of it.
Sure.
The cast is young.
Sure.
And I don't mean to let my biases kind of show, but I guess I will. I just don't buy a lot of it sometimes. When they're so young, I don't know that I believe they are this capable.
Mm-hmm.
And that being said, some of them weren't. But even in, for example, since I was just talking about Jurassic Park, kids coming to save the day.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to swallow after a certain point. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
do we really need to do this? So when the whole cast is barely in their 20s, it's like, I don't know. But that's superficial, not important. I would say the movie itself was fun, but it really got bogged down in the fan service. It did not separate itself and do anything that was, yeah, I'm going to remember that because that was cool and that was for this movie. No, it was halfway through the movie, it just kind of devolved into one-liners that we've all heard before from other movies. That's like, okay, so remember that 1979 movie that came out? It was called Alien. Yeah, we're going to use lines from that. We're going to use lines from Aliens. We're going to resurrect Ian Holm with, frankly, some of the worst facial resurrecting I've ever seen. Deep fakes. It was a choice because, okay, I get it. You know, they wanted to pay homage to the first movie. That's fine. But they chose to focus a large section of that movie to him and to the technology that allows him to exist again. Because, spoiler alert, ladies and gentlemen, Ian Holm is dead. So the actor was not in the movie, but his face was. They spent way too much time on it. They gave him a lot of dialogue. So the dialogue was good, but the computer animation that created his face were just not there yet. And they chose to, instead of like keep it in shadows and keep it very quick cuts, they gave him a lot of screen time and it just looked terrible. And I'm like, this just takes me out of it. So overall, fun movie, goodish, but there are problems with it. So that's what I'll say about that.
One more quick thing before we wrap up. Speaking of digital likenesses and stuff like that, did you see the news from last week that apparently one of Peter Cushing's friends is suing Disney and Lucasfilm for supposedly using his likeness in Rogue One without getting this one dude's approval? It sounds like a pretty shaky case. He said that
it's a little too late, I think.
Yeah, it's like he said that Peter Cushing gave him specifically the authority to be the final go ahead for anybody using his likeness in any future projects.
I call bullshit
on that. That seems real sketch. But it said that he made that agreement 1 year before his death in 1993.
Because recreating people's faces digitally was such a thing in 1993 that
right.
That was the last thing Peter Cushing thought before he died. Oh, by the way, should anyone ever try to use my likeness in a technology that doesn't exist? Yeah, that seems like a cash grab. Not to mention he's at 6 years too late on that?
Yeah, and the other wild thing is, it says in this article that I was reading that this also seems a little sketchy, that Lucasfilm claimed that they quote, didn't think they needed permission to recreate Cushing's image due to his original contract for Star Wars from 1977 and the nature of the special effects. Oh, and they also paid Cushing's estate a whopping $37,000. After being contacted by his agent about the recreation. So that also seems a little sketchy to me. I don't think anybody comes out of this one looking good.
Here's where I stand. And to be fair, I don't even know if I completely stand here. Do I think de-aging and recreation of dead actors is a good thing? Probably not. For one, it's just another person they don't have to pay. And it's going to become a very, very dangerous thing. And I'm glad that actors are already standing up against it, because It's coming, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't take a scientist or a rocket scientist to figure that out. Not to mention, I believe it was Google. They just said they're all in on AI for their games, and I believe EA is going to be doing that. And it's taking away creativity from people, and that is a bad thing.
Yeah.
There is fan service, and then there's egregious fan service, and getting away with something, because to use the example that I was just talking about, Ian Holm in Alien Romulus, the actor is dead. Did someone have to do his voice? Yeah. But that's a substantially smaller paycheck than someone who's acting on screen. It's much less cost in terms of practical effects. This person doesn't exist on screen. They can do what they want to do with computers. Does it take time? Does it cost money? Yes, but they don't have to build it. They don't have to get robotics and puppeteers to make it come to life. So that saves money. It's scary, man. Like, here's where I sit. It is a short period of time before someone gets convicted of a crime they didn't commit with this whole deep fake thing and the ease with which it is implemented. It's a little disturbing, and that's a little far-fetched, at least a little bit to me, I think. I just feel like that's where we're headed. People are going to be victims of this in some negative, nefarious way, and that's not a good place for anyone to be. And it's definitely not a good place for creativity to be, where we're just letting computers do everything. Disney using Peter Cushing's likeness, was it cool? Yeah, but it is the next step in dehumanizing the medium and taking real work out of real people's hands. I'm all for cool special effects, but this is just dangerous. So,
it is complicated.
That is
for sure.
your public service announcement, as brought to you by Mike and Jesse on the Chip Grooves Radio podcast. But yeah, well, I don't want to keep you, man. I gotta go make dinner here soon. You already ate, you lucky bastard. But I gotta figure something out, and I gotta take care of my puppies. So
yeah, you go do that.
If you would like to say goodbye.
Yeah, say goodbye to everybody, and I think I might go upstairs and play some Slay the Spire.
Nice.
Thank you for listening. If you liked what you heard, please rate and subscribe. We very much appreciate it. Also visit our brand new website, magusmediaproductions.net, to get all information on every show. See you next time.
Well, hello there, Internet people. My name is Josh, and I am one of the hosts of the Nastagram RPG podcast. We're an actual play podcast, and we're good. And why are we good? Well, let's let the other host tell you. Dan.
Hey, everyone. If you like authentic, real-world sound effects, our lasers go pew-pew.
I love it. Matt.
Skip me. Coming back to Matt.
Ryan.
Okay, so after 2 decades of trying, we finally mastered the 3.5 grapple. We did.
Never mind.
Try again.
Scratch that.
Check it out. Look it up.
John.
If you're looking for a RPG podcast that plays a whole hell of a lot of games, you like to spice the life.
Spice it up.
Spice it up.
Matt, you ready?
Yeah, I think I'm ready. If you enjoy bad accents and overacting, you'll enjoy our podcast.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
And Jake, bring us home.
I like to just say, we didn't just throw a phone on the table and hit record. Like, Josh does a damn good job with the editing. And
Facts.
if you care about that, you will not be disappointed.
That's right. We spent a bunch of money that we don't make on the podcast.
100%.
So check us out, Nastagram RPG Podcast. You can find us on all the goddamn podcast apps, and we'll see you there.
That's nasty.